Hey everybody, welcome to Love and Relo, the voice of the relocation industry. I am your host, Ben Cross, and I am so blessed and honored to be here today with Barb from dluxSuites and Mark from CORT. How are y'all doing today?
We're doing good, Ben. Thank you.
Excellent, Ben.
Awesome. And so we're going to be talking about shortages in the corporate housing industry and supply chains and furniture. And I know a little bit about that, but Mark's going to make us an expert. And we're going to talk about these shortages, and it's super serious. Barbara's giving me a really serious talk before we came on here. She's like, Ben, this is serious. Stop messing around, okay? And I said, Barbara, I promise I won't mess around too much today. So we're going to be super serious about this, but we're also going to have a little bit of fun, but not too much fun because it's serious. So I want to know what you're seeing as far as shortages go in your industry, whether you're in your corporate housing, whether you're in moving, whatever you're in. I want to see those shortages and what you're seeing out there. I want to see that in the comments. So please put that in right now, because a lot of these things are interdependent macroeconomic factors. Right? We got macroeconomics, we got microeconomics. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts lately. This is great. Throw it in there. I want to know who you are, where you are. Give your company a little shout out there in the comments. Mark, where in the world are you today?
I'm in Northern Virginia, back in my office.
Nova. Whereabouts in Northern Virginia? I spent some time up there in the DC area.
We're about 15 minutes south of Dulles Airport.
Okay. All right. How's the traffic these days? Are you seeing the traffic coming back? Is the traffic back in a big way? Because that's the true test in the Beltway, right?
Yeah, it's not fully back yet, but every day this week there's more than last week. And you could tell people are starting to head back into the office.
It's so bad in DC that people ride in cars with strangers before there was Uber, right? I mean, that's how bad it is in DC, right? It's like, I'm going to park my car in this random parking lot in the field over here and just get in a car with a stranger that may be going near my job. That's how bad the traffic is in DC. Am I lying, Mark, or is that true?
No, that's the truth. They're called snail lines.
Snail lines? Oh my goodness.
Not snail lines, slug lines. Thank you.
Slug lines, even worse. Yes. No wonder Uber came and disrupted that business. Like, couldn't you get a better name? Oh my goodness gracious. And Barb, where in the world are you today?
I am in my office in Detroit, and traffic is awful. It's bad.
Nice. Isn't it nice to see terrible traffic again? Haven't we missed the traffic jams? No, we haven't. Okay. Too much? All right, fine. That's cool. Hey, let's see here. We got a bunch of people coming in over here. Mike Quigley, 2021, rock and roll, baby. Mike, I love you, man. Let's see. Stacy Huff's in the house. Hi, Ben, Barb, and Mark. I'm looking forward to this topic. Stacy, I'd love to know what you're seeing from an RMC perspective, super producer Stacy. Stacy thinks she's just going to come in here with a quick little comment in the beginning, show she's watching, then leave for the rest of it. I see you, Stacy. I know what you're up to. Jeff Nadeau, sun is shining in San Diego. What are you seeing, Jeff? You're doing a lot of international shipping. A lot of it's coming in that port just north of you. Let me know what's up. Val McKenzie, dluxSuites. This is going to be so insightful. No pressure. Mike McGill checking in from Cleveland. Believeland in the house. Looking forward to this session, Mike. Thank you. Deborah Hanson from San Diego. We got Houston in the house here. Sharon, you sent me the nicest email today, Sharon. Wish I could give you a big old hug. Maria, hi from Dallas. That's awesome. Dallas in the house. Francine, checking in from VIP Corporate Housing. Awesome, Francine. I'd love to hear what you're seeing out there, too, since you're real close to it, Francine. Let's see. Melissa's in the house. This is excellent. Sue's here from Fernandina Beach. Did I say that right? I don't even know. Jackie, Houston traffic is horrific again. Good news for business. Ain't that the truth? That's wonderful. Yeah, let us know what you're seeing out there, Jackie. I know you're in this business as well. Elizabeth Martin, hi, Ben and Mark, and my girl Barb from Chi-Town. That's what's up. Mary O'Donnell, Orange County in the house. Janet Turner from Central Florida. What's up, Janet? Let's see here. Jeff Nadeau, we are blessed that the majority of what we do is Hawaii moves, and that is a different port than the international berths. Very fortunate. Long Beach is indeed a mess. I think we're going to talk a little bit about that today, aren't we? Aren't we, Mark?
Mm-hmm. We will be getting into it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, so y'all are on two different sides of the coin here, but you kind of work together, on this. Can you tell, Barb, when we first started talking about this problem, why did you immediately say, you know what, we need to get Mark involved as well? What's that connection?
So Mark is definitely, to me, he's a global expert of what's happening. And he, without partners like Mark for us, I mean, you're not going to have a furnished housing without, furniture. So we have already experienced many furniture annoyances that were due to COVID, right? So he was the first person I thought of. And I'm so glad, because when he starts talking, he does not 100% focus on furniture. It's just what's happening globally and how it's impacting our economy. So that it gets very interesting.
Well, let's do that then, because there is no furnished housing without furniture, right? Otherwise, it's just apartments. So, Mark, what are you seeing out there?
Well, it's a combination of a lot of events all happening at once. And as some people have said, if you could just deal with them one at a time, it might be easy. But there's half a dozen to a dozen different things, depending upon what aspects of the industry you're looking at. And I'm happy to go through a few of them with you, but also recognize that all of this still differs greatly around the world. I've got the opportunity to work with our global partners, and we've been in the middle of conference calls with them. So very different from country to country, even with countries that we think are coming back. Europe may even be a month or two behind us. You go over to Asia, and Asia gets even more interesting, where things we thought were settled and people were masked up and production was continuing. They still are, but they're starting to see variants of the COVID disease in China, in Asia, and in Vietnam currently, where a lot of furniture production went prior to the tariffs. Vietnam has got about 3% of their population, 0.3% of their population vaccinated. And the variant that hit them is a combination of the UK and Indian variant. India, as we've all read, is just a horrible hotspot right now. And that is traveling down through Malaysia. Singapore, our partners there, tell us that they're bundled back up and really have gone under again.
Yeah, Singapore was they were having some small gatherings. They weren't vaccinated, but they had done such a good job of controlling and getting into the country through the quarantines and everything that they had assumed a somewhat of a sense of normalcy, waiting for mass vaccination. But to your point, just went back into a shutdown, right?
Yes. And so one of the things that I was on the phone with our global partners just a week ago, and what struck me is I'm sitting here in Northern Virginia feeling really good about being able to go out without a mask and do things that I haven't been able to do for a year or so. And it made me step back and realize that we're not all there yet. And as the world goes, so will relocation, so will the entire industry. So
it's so interdependent, and I think what you're saying is so interesting, because to be honest with you, I thought I was well versed on this, and I thought it was a shipping problem. I didn't even realize, to your point about Vietnam and how so much furniture is produced there. I look at the bottom of the chairs and things I'm buying on the internet, and I'm seeing, where it's produced in Southeast Asia. And I didn't even realize that. So what has COVID done to the manufacturing of furniture?
So let's go into the various stages of it. And I apologize because I try not to start when you start growing a tree, but it does almost start there, because a lot of the production of furniture overseas is not done with raw goods that are native to China or Vietnam. Lumber is shipped over there. Foam is shipped, or the chemicals for foam.
Where's the lumber coming from?
The U.S. in a lot of cases.
That's ironic. We're sending our lumber over there. We're like, hey, build me a table and send it back to me. That is wild. We might want to rethink that. Anyway, sidebar. Okay, continue.
Well, part of it is, and let's just take it from there. they've had difficulty getting enough raw goods for two reasons. Number one, the demand and let me talk furniture specifically for a moment. Demand for furniture is up 25% in sales, but it's up 300% if you look at what's being shipped from Asia in terms of restocking and providing companies like Wayfair and Amazon and others the just-in-time inventory that they want to have to be able to meet the demands of the consumer. And so there has been a huge run on production. Okay, it would strain the factories on a normal day, but given the fact that they've had issues with their people and managing COVID within that group as much as we all have had, that makes it doubly tough. Add to that the fact that the containers are going back empty right now because there is a shortage of containers. And they can get 66 cents a mile on a container that's going out of Asia and 10 cents going back. They just want to get them back and get them back up and out again. Container prices that we're seeing have gone up 50% on the containers alone. And the challenge with the containers is it's almost been a bit of a huge traffic jam on what's come in and what's not been able to get back up and out quickly. And so there's issues that start at manufacturing. Okay, then assuming your product gets manufactured, you get it to the dock. And this is the same way for a household goods move as well. To get it on a ship it used to take 2 weeks to make that happen. Now it's taking 45 days if you're lucky.
Just to get it on the boat, you're saying?
In order to ensure that it gets on, you're paying a premium. Mm-hmm. So shipping costs, just the boat. So shipping costs on the containers have gone from $1,500 a pop to $4,500. The latest I've seen is about $5,300 just for the container on the boat, if you can get on. And to get it on, that premium can often be $3,000 to $5,000 more because there is just a huge demand that we've created in the U.S. for consumer goods because as we all went into COVID, we stopped spending on going out and traveling and taking the kids to Disney and all of that good stuff.
That's it. You got to get a new armchair. You got to get a new end table, get some new stuff, 100%. Yep. Definitely seen the Wayfair guy coming around here every once in a while. Mm-hmm.
So you've had a lot of demand which exceeded production. You've had issues with raw goods supply chain. You've had issues getting it into a container, then getting that container onto a boat. And once you get the container onto the boat, assuming you don't go through the Suez Canal, you wind up in places like Long Beach.
Right.
And you take, I don't know, I'm sure you've seen the pictures, Ben. As a matter of fact, I think I saw you put up Ray DeSilva's work that he did for IAM, which is a wonderful video. If you all have a chance to check it out and look at it, it will encapsulate all of this for you. But
yeah, I sent it out in the Glomo newsletter that went out today as well, by the way. So if you guys got the newsletter, it just went out today. It should be in your inbox. There's a link to that. IAM, Learning International Association of Movers, did a piece which Mark's referencing on the shortage and the shipping times and everything. It was probably the most well done piece around the shipping for as it pertains to relocation.
Right on.
So once they get to Long Beach, they get to go into another line. And it's taking them 10, 14 days in that line to get into port. Once they get into port, there's not enough trucks. There's not enough chassis for the containers. And it is just the most nightmarish traffic jam that you would ever believe. Trying to get things up and out of the ports. And even when they do get them up and out onto a train into other areas like Chicago or Kansas City or other intermodal distribution points, they're having the same mess there where there's an overage of containers. They've got more coming in. They were never built to handle that kind of capacity. And it has not worked.
What a cluster everywhere. I mean, at every turn, at every link in the chain, at every link in the supply chain, you're seeing constraints in capacity. And it's so interesting and yet so terrifying because they all have to resolve themselves and they're all somewhat interdependent on themselves. And so we went into this pretty hard stop, and it's going to be a really slow roll up and start. And I got to wonder what that's going to do to our ability to provide corporate housing. I mean, moving services. We talked a little bit about that as well. I want to know if you're watching this right now. We got a ton of people. We got about 45 people on LinkedIn right now tuning in, a bunch of people on Facebook and YouTube. I want to know, what are you seeing out there? We've got a bunch of people here. We got Jeff checking in and Ray. What's up, Ray? And Mike Quigley. Mike McGill, M3 has no shortage, endless. Mike, you're hilarious. Marietta checking in here. Jana, what's up? Jana Team Glomo's in the house from Rio, from Brazil. That's awesome. I want to know what you're seeing out there. Jackie Rowan says, we're getting wonderfully busy again, but inventory is super challenging. Jackie, I want to know more. What is challenging about the inventory? Put it out there. We're going to talk to Barb about that a little bit. Lisa checking in. Lisa Fontana, what's up? How you doing? Cliff Bierman, hey everyone, happy late birthday, Cliff. Phil, what's up? Phil and Philly Phil in the house. Okay. Let me see what's going on out there. Let me know. Put it in the comments here. I want to read your comments. I want to see what's happening. Barb, everything that Mark's saying is scaring the hell out of me. What's happening in your world right now?
You should be scared. I want Mark to go back to something though. So when Mark and I were talking, we talked a few times before this. Mark, you said you had 2,700, I make stuff up, 2,700 containers that you ordered or something, and that they were just trickling in, containers of furniture. I messed it up, didn't I?
Sure, thanks, Barb. No, I wish it were 2,700. It would make us a much larger company than we are. But we had ordered 170 containers of furniture to be delivered to us at the beginning of the spring. So April, May timeframe. Okay. As of right now, we've gotten about 20 of those in. So we'll be getting the additional 150 coming in through June and July. The good news is the relocation season really hasn't hit full steam. So we're hoping that as that ramps up, we're going to be in a position to have the kind of product that we would typically have. But we've ordered well in advance. It wasn't a case of money. It wasn't a case of anything else. It was a case of supply chain. And so to me, it's just one of those things that, like I said, I think we're fortunate right now that the reload season is a little bit delayed and probably won't kick into full gear until July, August this year.
Yeah. And Barb, go ahead, Barb. Go ahead.
No, I was going to go back. So obviously without an inventory challenge, which I'm going to get into that now because it's very challenging. I mean, getting furniture is also a challenge. So it's not only a challenge in finding inventory, then it's, again, strategically managing when we can get the furniture in and get the apartment set up. So there are huge delays right now in figuring out a way to supply a furnished apartment. And this is the interesting thing. I've heard on different podcasts and I've heard on different, web chats like this, that we as vendors are going to provide like we've always provided. And here's what I have to say. If I'm scared as an optimist, as someone who's not afraid of anything, I am very concerned on what's going to happen when the borders open. Today, we're seeing a summer push, right? Just a summer push. People are traveling again. We're doing this. We're not this. We're just going up and I'm telling you, there's no inventory. But here's why there's no inventory. Number one, the real estate market, no matter where you are, is pretty dang hot, right? People are getting 3 or 4 offers on their homes at 10 to 100,000 more than they're putting it on the market for. Okay, those people call it baby boomers, right? Our biggest population, baby boomers, they're moving into apartment communities to make life simple. They want to be transient. They want to travel the globe, right?
My dad literally did that last week. Sold his big old house, moved into an apartment in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Right. It's easy. You come, you go, you don't mow the lawn, right? And normally baby boomers are looking for furnished apartments. And so the baby boomers and families are taking 2 and 3 bedroom apartments. So before COVID, we saw, tons of 1 bedrooms, right? We were very careful in taking 2, super careful in taking 3. Now we can't find them. We cannot find 2 and 3 bedroom homes, or apartment homes, sorry. The other issue is property management companies, they don't need us. They don't need us anymore. I mean, they are already full. The average occupancy in the first quarter was 97% in the first quarter of 2021 nationwide. Damn. And so now we go and it's 99%. I went to a brand new apartment building in Royal Oak and they basically said, yeah, we don't need to rent with you. And I'm like, I know you don't, but will you? And
I know you don't, but please.
Please, can I have 1 rental in your building? And they were basically like, no, we don't have to deal with a corporate housing vendor.
Well, how much? I mean, is some of that sentiment that they don't need you because they're so full, and then is some of that sentiment what happened last summer when people got left holding the bag because corporations pulled out of their leases and their commitments?
I used to think that. I don't think that anymore. I think the demand is so great, and they would rather not deal with corporate housing, right? They would rather have, and of course if we all owned a building, right? And we can get, the last time I called a property looking for a 2-bedroom, the minimum term I could get is 18 months.
Wow.
So I come back to this all the time. What is going to happen to the 30-day stay? And I'm not being rude, but I'm telling you, as an industry, we have got to find a way to come together, because I will tell you, I told Val, when you're going through what you're going through, we as providers are going to be able to pick and choose, because there's going to be so many authorizations coming through all of the portals, from our customers, and there's just no inventory. So it's a very precarious situation to be in.
Wow. What are corporations and RMCs? And we've got a ton of questions coming. Keep those questions coming. I promise you, we will answer all of those questions. Keep them coming. I want to know what you're seeing out there. Janet, Phil, Jeff, this is great. Jackie, these are great. Maureen, I want to see what you're seeing out there from the RMC side. Jackie's got great stuff on the real estate side. Cliff, thank you so much for that. We're going to get to all of these. Amy, this is great. We're going to get to all of these. Keep these coming. But Barb, what are RMCs and corporations going to have to do to get access to what little capacity there is out there? How are they going to have to change? Can we bring Jack in?
Yeah. I'm going to tell you that it will be relationships. It will be respect in relationships. And I see that. Are you going to use Airbnb to fill inventory? So last Friday, we spent at dluxSuites the entire day looking for inventory. And it's not in apartments, right? Those are full. We're full. We can't get into the places we've already gone. So we went on Zillow. Are there any condos for rent? And of course, we have HOA rules, right? And Canada does that well. Airbnb, I'm like, I'll take an Airbnb and I'll rent it for 6 months, and then I'll fix it up so it looks like the deluxe style, right? And I'll just pay the Airbnb, but so it's not really Airbnb, it's really me.
What are you doing with the furniture? Because Sharon goes in here, right? And Sharon's saying, no, Elizabeth, you can't do the Airbnb because now there's a duty of care. And we're right. She's right to a degree. We hear duty of care all day long, right? Especially overseas outside the United States, OCONUS. But you're saying You're going to outfit it with the deluxe branded furniture, the feel, the look and feel that you do that makes you who you are, your secret sauce. Assuming Mark's got the furniture, right? But what do you do with their furniture that's already in there? Because Airbnb are people it's a furnished home. Do you store their stuff? Like, how does that even work?
Nancy, we'll move it out and move it to our warehouse, right? Because we have a big warehouse. We can do that if it's nice enough. And again, to Sharon's point, which she's absolutely right. If you don't have that middleman, there is no duty of care. So us meeting with the owners and saying, hey, we'd like to see your place. We already told like 5 of them no, because it's too sketchy. Will they fix it? If your toilet breaks, like there's a ton of issues going into it. I'm just saying that we were so desperate Friday that we went down the road. Like, could we meet with owners? Could we move out their furniture, get CORT to move in new furniture and put our stamp on it? Because it's a bed for a head. That's what we're going up against. It's a bed for a head.
Right. Mark, are you seeing more Airbnb conversions?
I'm sorry, Ben, you broke up just a little bit on that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And there's just a touch of a delay, but that's all right. Are you seeing more Airbnb conversions? To Barb's point, companies converting an Airbnb. Is that visible? Do you have that transparency to know that or not? Is that a trend that you're seeing?
We know that there are apartment communities that are doing some things with Airbnbs on longer term rentals. And so they are entering the space themselves in some ways, trying to figure out where all the demand is coming from. It's a very intriguing situation because, Barb, as difficult as we think it is now, I would tell you it's likely to get worse. What we don't have back out in the marketplace yet is not just take a look at the relo flow that has not come in. Relocation has been down by 60%, particularly global relocation, over the last 15, 16 months. That's going to start to pick back up, and there's pent-up demand there. But in addition to that, let's take a look at what I'll call, I'm a baby boomer. Let's call them the boomerangs, because I was an empty nester, and then I wasn't. And my daughter, great apartment down in DC, great job in DC. Moved home for 15 months. It was wonderful having her there. She's getting ready to move back out because her offices are going to open. Okay, we're seeing the same thing with our son. We had a niece living with us who's now going to be off on her own. And understand that obviously it's very personal for me, but there are 2 graduating classes, last year's and now this year's, that are employed, that have jobs, that are working remotely. Mm-hmm. When that ends, those kids have been making good money while they've been working. At least mine haven't been paying a whole lot of rent. And they're getting ready to move up and move out. And they're moving into the A-grade apartments that you want for your customer. So you've got a whole new batch of competition coming for those. Add on to that, go back to the supply chain for a second. During all of COVID, apartment communities couldn't get inspections done. They couldn't get, processes taken care of so they could move forward with the building. The building was delayed due to COVID restrictions and having to socially distance. Now they are facing the same supply chain issues that we all are, that things that used to take 3 months are taking 6, 9 more. And their costs of all their construction materials have gone up as well. So whatever was planned to come into the market in 2021 is not, it's going to be delayed. And when it does come online, it's going to be more expensive. So that's the picture that if we talk about what do the relocation companies and the corporations need to understand, they need to understand that whatever budgets or whatever expectations were out there a year and a half ago for people, they're gone. They're going to be blown up, and their people are going to be put into situations that will be very awkward for them as they try to.
Wow. This is so interesting.
Can
Yeah,
I just say something?
Sure, Barb.
I'm sorry. I saw an article today about the housing shortages in the US, and the article said it will take until 2030 to catch up, right? So that the apartment buildings 2030 before we have enough apartment buildings to put people in.
2030?
I'm sorry.
2030?
2030.
Oh my goodness. Maron. Here we go. Let's see here. This is great. We got some people talking here in the comments. The comments are phenomenal. You guys are great. This is great. Hit that like button, by the way. If you like what you're hearing, hit that like button. If you don't like what you're hearing, which is kind of how I'm feeling right now, hit that little pink, like, I don't know, button, or hit that green little, that yellow little light bulb button. Okay. Let us know. Let us know you're out there. That's great. We do appreciate the likes. Mike Quigley says relationships matter, and until the orders come in, they unfortunately aren't valid. Book early and work closely with your supply chain. Demand is outweighing demand. That's when you know it's bad. I see this lasting through the summer 2022. Oh man, Sharon saying, "Yikes, 2030." Hey, who wants to go in on a multifamily? Huh? Holler at me. Hit me in the DMs. I got 100K on it. Let's do this. Let's see here. Sharon says, Elizabeth, that's why we require renter's insurance. Airbnb is just scary, not knowing who was in there last, where their locks changed, who else has access. She's saying that there's no protection. There's no protection during a short-term housing stay if there's no insurance coverage. Many temporary housing stays leave the guest unprotected for when things go wrong. Really interesting. Barb, do you see the industry having to really consider, I don't want to say Airbnb because that's a provider, but non-traditional rental homes, non-professionally operated houses that then people like yourself go into and I guess start to professionally manage? I mean, are you going to go in there and start grabbing inventory off there and then kind of putting your duty of care on it and your brand on it, Barb? In your furnishing?
I would do it in a heartbeat, but here in Michigan, anywhere in Michigan, nobody. Why would you rent your house when you can sell it for $100,000 more than? You know what I'm saying? Like, why
you need
would
to take
you
that, Barb?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, this is not a call-in show, everybody. So anybody that's calling Barb, asking a question, just put it in the comments, please. We will get to you. I promise. Farrell says, what would prevent the employee from going directly to the Airbnb? Are we going to see this a lot? Are corporations going to have to start, gosh, I don't even want to say the dirty L word. Are they going to start lump summing corporate housing?
Well, I hope not. So let's talk about duty of care just for a second.
Let's do it.
And I will tell you, again, I just told you that last Friday we were out looking, and we went in an Airbnb, and people don't look at the mattresses to see if there's any type of, and so you don't know what you're getting. Chris has a name for it, and I don't remember what the name is because I don't want to talk about it, but you know what you're getting. And again, if your toilet breaks, what are you going to do? I will say our company will do whatever we have to do to help the customer. So is it a rental home? Sure, if I can find it, right? Or Val can find it. Is it an Airbnb? Only if we have changed the furniture out and we have put our mark on it, and then we will be your duty of care. Otherwise, it gets a little sketchy. It just does.
Yeah. Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah, I'm getting the heebie-jeebies. Jackie Rowan says, what if this was an apartment, Barb? What if it wasn't a house? What if it was an apartment? You see that happening a lot? More condos, people's condos?
Well, you got the HOA rules, right? That's what's hard is that, for a year lease. And I can't tell you the last time I saw a year. Well, I just lied with you on Friday, but there's not many year leases.
Barb's over here half lies. Who knows? Amy brings up a great point. Lower interest rates have also caused more homeowners to refinance, so they are staying put, resulting in less inventory. Janet Turner says, as a corporate housing vendor, can you not connect with the major builders?
I mean, sure, Janet, but guess what? Their building is slow. I mean, we've got lumber shortages. Mark hasn't even gone into all the shortages. We've got chip shortages, steel shortages. Like,
they can't build anything. Mark's taking all the wood. Mark's building tables over there left and right. As soon as he gets his hand on a stick, he's building a table out of it. I mean, you know, everybody's fighting for lumber, right? Mark, what's the lumber? You want to talk about lumber a little bit and some of the other shortages you're seeing on the supply side?
Well, just a couple things with respect to lumber. The price has gone up significantly. Last I read, it was about 260%, and
which is down from 330%. Yeah.
So the prices are up. The supply is again being affected by the number of people that are available to cut the wood, build the wood, etc. And again, there's a lot of demand for that wood. So it's going into furniture much more than there was before. Some of that is probably going into the cartons that are dropped by your doorstep every day up and down your street. So it's going to be expensive, and it's just going to be more expensive for some time. So is there a shortage? No, you can look outside. There's plenty of trees. It's the supply chain getting it from tree to whether it be shelter or furniture or box.
I just have a feeling I'm about 2 weeks away from seeing Mark in my backyard with a chainsaw trying to figure out how to cut my tree down here. John Zilka saying annual client cost reviews in Q1 of 2022 will be hard. John, what's going to happen? All my RMC friends out there, what's going to happen after those client reviews? Are they going to go shopping for another RMC? Are they going to look for cost containment? Are we going to be out of the woods, pun intended, on this tree thing? You know, what do you see happen? I'd love to see it in the comments here. Maureen says this housing shortage was predicted 10 years ago due to a shortage of people in the trades.
Mm-hmm. I buy it.
Interesting. Very interesting. Vinny, by the way, in case I know you couldn't take that call, Barb, but Vinny says that was him calling. He'll call you back later. Yeah. Christine asked, besides being transparent and communicating with our own clients, is there another way to send out a mass communication to corporate clients?
Christine, I would do anything to educate, right? And I think Mark and I agreed on that. We would do anything to educate, to say this is not going to be normal. We are not in normal times by any stretch of the imagination. And, you know, we really haven't talked about unemployment, and certainly in Michigan, I just interviewed a lady that was on unemployment making $16.50 an hour doing nothing until December. And she's like, yeah, I don't think I want to work. I'm like, I wouldn't either if I were you. Right. So, I mean, we have major labor shortages, which also adds into this. So, Christine, I don't know. I'm on your bandwagon to help educate in any way I can, which is why I keep talking about this.
Yeah, I'd love to crowdsource this idea, Christine, because I think you're right. I think there's a lack of education and communication out there. And I think we're doing our part today. You know, Barb and Mark and I are doing our part here. We're beating the drum. But for some reason, it doesn't feel like it's being taken seriously. For some reason, it feels like our corporate clients and our RMC partners are saying, you know, y'all have figured it out. You've figured it out before. You know, driver shortage figured it out. You know, labor shortage figured it out. You know, corporate housing, what's the difference? You'll figure it out. You figured it out last summer. You'll figure it out. You know, I mean, is that how it feels to you, Barb, or am I off?
I mean, I would love to know what everyone else thinks. I think there's a rude awakening coming, and what I don't want to happen is I don't want anger, right? I don't want frustration. We have to understand that there are major issues, and I just put it out to the universe the last time I was on Love and Relo, right? What's going to happen when somebody forgets to give a notice to vacate and I've backfilled that apartment? That just happened last week. And we had to set up a new apartment in the same building for 60 days just to take care of the poor guy. He still had to move, right? Because at some point you have to hold to a contract. It's a legal agreement. So again, I'm like, I am so sorry that you didn't tell us you were leaving but I've already re-rented your apartment. So the best I can do for you is to move you to a lesser apartment in the same building. And how fortunate were we that we got the furniture, we found a lease for 60 days because they have somebody coming in August. So, I mean, that was utopia, but that's not always going to happen. I mean, it's scary.
Jack actually here came to Vinny's rescue. He says Vinny was over here. He was the only corporate here, it looks like. And Jack says it's it's not being communicated. Your organization, I think he's referring to Chippa, needs to communicate the message. Jack, let me ask you, what's the difference between Chippa saying it and I guess Barb and I talking about it here? I just curious. I wonder if information doesn't flow faster these days, through forums like this. But I think he's right. I mean, it'd be nice to see a coordinated maybe message out there with all the data points that you've both provided. Philip Leonard says, even though we are coming out of the pandemic, we are far from all the ripple effects across the board that remain to happen, have a huge impact on industry and many others. It's just the beginning. I hope we do not get a false sense of security. There was a question here, a couple questions for Mark and regarding furniture. There's a few questions here. Lisa and Janet asked a question about, are we sourcing from U.S. suppliers or is it just kind of in Southeast Asia? And Lisa says, are you looking at going to small business furniture makers here in the U.S. or just the big companies? I'm in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. I have a circular saw and I know how to use it. And I see lots of furniture stores here, she says. Get Pete out there in the wood shop, Lisa.
North. Lisa, I'll be driving north in about a half hour. We are sourcing from anyone and everyone we can find right now. If we can find, there's weeks that we're looking for upholstery. If we can find 40 sets of upholstery, we're buying it. Now, understand that from a marketing standpoint, and you've got all the photography on the internet, you've got folks like Barb that are expecting certain pieces in your lineup, and all of a sudden you're buying in lots, small lots, but we're doing it. So in terms of our processes, it's far from ideal, but right now we know that our clients need product and we're going to do what we can in order to provide it. So I hope that answers your question, but yes, we are looking hither and yon. We have certainly diversified where our manufacturing is located. So there is some in the U.S., there is some in Mexico, there is some in Canada. It's not all overseas, but there are issues.
Yeah, I think you bring up a great point too, and I'm sympathetic too, right? Because in order to provide solutions at scale, which is what CORT does really well, right, is you have to have consistent product and inventory in all locations, right, in order to market and advertise it. It's like you open up the Macy's catalog and you see a black sweater, but they don't carry black sweaters in these markets. It's like, well, that doesn't work, right? So if anybody still gets catalogs, I don't know. This is great here. Great answer. Valerie says to Jack, but where would Chippa say it? And goes on, and where would corporate see it?
Ben, I mean, I'm afraid to say these three letters, but it is ERC, because again, it's not just inventory. It's not just furniture. It's not just, you haven't even spoken about household goods and what you're seeing globally.
Yeah.
It's everything, right? It's not just one thing. It's all what ERC should be talking about.
Yeah, interesting. Let's keep down this thread here just a minute, because I think the communication, because you're right, it's happening in household goods. It's happening in it's happening in real estate, right? It's happening with, so many areas. Jack Jampel says, Valerie, that's an issue on its own. There's no mechanism to talk to clients. Beth Hossie says there was an ERC session last week on corporate housing where this was discussed. Beth, I'd like to know what was discussed. I didn't see it. I think it was at the virtual conference, I think. Let's see. Chippa has something. It's the spring update about inventory. And Vinny says the best communication line is to receive information directly from the corporate housing providers instead of through an RMC or Chippa. But then Maureen says the RMCs are being told by their suppliers that this isn't going to be a problem.
You know what I have to say to that?
What do you have to say to that?
Okay. Okay.
I thought you were coming with something. I thought you were coming with some more heat.
No, I mean, okay. Like, if you think there's not a problem out there, okay.
Well, but I mean, isn't that as a supplier, right? That's a sticky wicket, right? Because as a supplier, it's our jobs to make problems go away, right? Yeah. And when we cry uncle and we say, gosh, I can't anymore. I'm tapping out. I got an issue over here. Don't we feel like we failed a little bit? I mean, come on, honestly, vulnerable, right? Don't we feel like we're if we're not able to provide that unit or provide that stick of furniture or whatever, don't we feel like to some degree, that's how I felt as a mover when I'm not taking, shipments for a month out of the year in July or whatever, or not able to get somebody their stuff in less than 10 days.
I think I feel like a failure when I've promised something I can't deliver, right? That's when if I say something and that doesn't come true, I truly have failed. I've failed myself, I failed the company, and I failed that customer. I am screaming. Obviously, the second time on the show, we have a problem. Like, there is a problem we all need to be aware of. And again, if there are other corporate housing providers out there that don't have an issue because perhaps real estate's not hot, perhaps they have a ton of furniture, and perhaps they never laid off anybody, then God bless them. I really wish them well. I do. I really do. I hope that they, to the moon. But we don't have that luxury here in the Midwest.
Yeah. That makes sense. Maureen agrees with you there. Vinny says, the other thing that we cannot wait for information to come to us. As a corporate professional, it is my responsibility to ensure that our employees are well taken care of. If we hear rumors about shortages, we, meaning corporates, respect Vinny, must start the conversation with our providers if it has not been started already.
I like that.
Yeah, and I respect that too, because Vinny and Jack are the two that really show up and are constantly being proactive about taking in information. And I respect that so much, because I think there's a lot of people that kind of, maybe bury their head and say, they got it. Jack says, here's the issue. If I go to House of Goods Company and ask if they can handle our summer rush, how many will be honest and say we won't be able to handle it? But then at these events, we hear the issues. So there's a disconnect for sure. Interesting. Beth clarifies that virtual session was part of the spring ERC. Tracy Hayes and panel discuss challenges in inventory, supply chain, rising costs. Beth, I'd love to hear what thoughts came out of that as far as fixing the problem. Sharon saying no lump sums. Vinny's saying that lump sums can work if they're done right. I mean, do you think it's going to come to that? Because, I mean, these reloads are going to happen, right? Whether or not we're going to be able to accommodate them or not. How do you see them finding their way into the marketplace?
If I could weigh in here for a moment, I think Please. It's going to be really taking a look at what some of the policies are. If we're still expecting somebody to be able to find a place and get settled in 30 days, that may or may not happen. If they're going to plan on buying a home, they will be lucky, and they're going to have a lot of cash to make that happen today. So you're going to see families move, and they're going to wind up going into rental housing for 3, 6, 12 months while they try to get settled and get someplace within the market that they can afford and that they can bid comfortably for. So that's very different from what it has been traditionally. In terms of the costs are going to be going up. Whatever has been allocated previously, those numbers are going to be low. And so will they be low forever? I don't know if this is going to be somewhat cyclical once it all catches up, but all of it catching up is going to be 6, 12, 18 months from now, in my estimation. And I think it's going to take time to go back to that. So people are going to have to be much more flexible. People are going to have to be ready to handle some adversity that they weren't expecting. And the employee needs to understand the marketplace they're walking into before they start heading that direction. So whatever pre-counseling can be done through destination services, a real estate agent, whomever that can help share those realities is certainly going to help.
Yeah, great point.
Can I say something? Hey, Mark, tell the story that we were talking about how household goods shipments used to take 6 to 8 weeks, and now it's taken 3 to 5 months. And we were talking about, is it worth it to the corporation?
Sure. When it comes to international shipments of household goods, right now, in talking with some people at RMCs, as well as reading what I've come across, you're probably looking at 4 months, if you're lucky, to get something from Asia to the United States and in place. So depending on how long that assignment is, if it's a 2-year assignment, if you're looking at 4 months on the front end, if you're looking at perhaps another 4 months on the back end, you're going through all kinds of other things in the process, including quarantines or whatever you may have. Is that the right policy to be shipping household goods halfway around the world? Certainly some people have argued, is it environmentally friendly to ship a sofa around the globe? I don't know. I would tend to believe it isn't. But what should the policies be? And right now, and this is not a knock on household goods, because household goods can be huge in both shipping and in storage. But do people need to take things? Is it convenient for them? If they're waiting for 4 months, are they going, and Barb, please take this the right way, but temporary housing isn't necessarily the best place for a family of 4 and a dog, especially if it's not in the school district, okay? And getting their kids in place and set is really critical. So how are you going to take care of the assignee? Is the policy the right answer, or do you need to look holistically at what you're trying to accomplish and see what other ways they may be able to do that?
Yeah, I think there's going to be some changes made, and it really depends on what the horizon looks like. Is this a 2021 issue? Is it a 2022 issue? Is this a 2030 issue? And then I think that's going to depend. And then I think the size of the Band-Aid is going to depend on that answer, right?
I think one more point there. If you take a look at the size of the average household goods shipments, they're getting smaller and smaller. I think people, particularly younger people, are more comfortable traveling light. You take a look at the cost of shipping things, and I can tell you that as my kids have moved out and about, it's like, whatever you have, sell it. Move light, it's a lot cheaper. We'll buy something once you get to your next destination.
Yeah, there's definitely a Facebook marketplace effect, right? Where it's so much easier to sell stuff now. I also think the demographics of the population that we're moving, I think it's less executive and more entry to mid. I think a lot of the executives are what I call the knowledge worker, or a work from home class, right? Where it's like, well, gosh, I'm going to get this job in Seattle, but you know what? I'm not going to move, and I've got the leverage to make that call. And if you want to let me work from home, I'll take the gig. And if you don't, that's cool. No worries. I see some of that happening as well. We've got some other interesting comments coming in here as well. This is fascinating. I love the economics. I hate the result, but I love the economics discussion on it. It's such a fascinating puzzle here to try to figure out. Jackie makes a great point. Homes are selling so quickly and at such a high rate that people are selling homes they would usually rent, which means rentals are also now at a premium. Mm-hmm. Wow. Interesting. Yeah. People are like, hey, I got to take advantage of this market. I'm going to get out while the getting's good. Sock that away for retirement. Let's see here. Cliff Bierman, you talked about household goods. Cliff Bierman, shortages. I got an estimate for 15,000 pounds, no packing, from San Fran to Atlanta for $30,000. It's a lot better if I got the numbers right. $30,000. That's $2 a pound. Now it's going coast to coast, but I'll tell you what, that's a high rate. That's a high rate. Wow. So, what's interesting is they're seeing a lot of price elasticity in the moving business. Obviously, Cliff is. Are we able to change our prices on the corporate housing side the way we see other services? I mean, changing prices, or are you locked in contractually?
We have to change prices. I mean, so our prices are driven mostly rent, and the rent prices are up 3% in Michigan. I mean, they're down 9.8 in San Francisco, but now that's turning around, right? So rent is our most, and then furniture with utilities is second. So the more expensive things get, the more the price goes up. Supply and demand, right?
I see a little bit. Now I'm going to ask you the same question, Mark, but to your point about down 9% in San Fran, up 3% in Michigan, I think we're going to see a bit of regression to the mean for wages and housing prices. I think it's been a tale of two worlds here with the Midwest and then with the interior and then the coasts that we saw in the election. I think we see it in home prices. I think we see it in wages. I think we see it. They're just two different situations. Mark, what are you seeing as far as pricing goes on furniture? Are you seeing the impact to pricing?
We are. A couple of years ago, when it was just the tariffs and just the Chinese furniture, we had enough product coming in from elsewhere, enough product already in-house, that we basically swallowed the tariffs and didn't raise prices accordingly. It's more than just tariffs. And while we haven't raised prices, we're getting hit from the cost of the product because of all of the raw material costs. Obviously, we're paying much more in freight than what we've ever paid historically. And we're running into the same thing that my guess is a lot of other folks on this call are running into as you try to hire employees, particularly with us, it's a case of drivers. Okay, since the pandemic started, I've got a fleet of Amazon trucks going up and down our street daily, and UPS and other freight. You can make a lot of money as a driver these days, and we have raised our wages. But as many of you went through, we all went through some cutbacks during the response to the COVID back in March. And so now as we try to gear back up, those costs are going up too. So while we haven't raised our rates at this point, unless we see some softening in some of those areas, I think that some of that is just going to be inevitable.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'll say this. At least you have the ability to do that. There's some services that are locked in contractually and are having to eat it, and we hear about that with some of the domestic household goods. There's price elasticity on the consumer side, on the military side, but on the corporate side, they're just not able to raise their rates. Hey, we've got a caller coming in here. This might be one of the first times we've done this here. We got a live caller coming in here. Jack Jampel, you're live on Love and Relo. Can you please turn down your radio, Jack?
Yeah, okay. Hi. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're live, Jack.
Okay, I'm live. I wanted to say one thing, something that our industry really lacks of. And there's this thing about price increases and making it that the corporate is the bad guy in all this, and that we don't want to pay for it. You have to keep your prices low. The household goods industry for 10 years had no increases, okay, and blamed it on the corporate clients that we won't take the price increases, okay, that it's our fault. And we seem like we're the only industry that doesn't change prices in accordance to what's going on in the economy. Okay. Every business, whether it's food or auto or anything else, changes the cost according to what is going on in the economy. But we have an industry where the household goods, like I said, I can go to one household goods mover and they're going to tell me we have no driver shortage. But then individually, we hear about these driver shortages.
Right.
So that's what I think is the biggest problem in this, is that even in temp living, make it so that you increase prices and the companies that really need to move these individuals will pay for it.
Yeah.
Okay. And we can't make general statements that corporate will not take price increases. And I think that's wrong with our industry.
Jack, I think that's fair. I think we saw with household goods 3 years ago, that those increases were accepted. I think it was interesting, though, that all three major van line companies all increased their prices at the same time. Had one increased their price and the others not, I wonder if it would have been sustainable. But you're right. Those price increases were widely accepted. It sounds like from what Barb's saying is that corporate housing does have the price flexibility to increase prices. They're not locked into 3-year contracts or whatever. So it does sound like there is some wiggle room. I think also, Jack, you being a corporate person who's probably more engaged than any other corporate person out there, you see it and you get it and you have friends and you listen, to what's going on out there. And I think that you are a little more unique maybe in that than some other people because you're just more engaged and involved. I mean, do you think that there's something to that?
I'm speaking from what I believe other corporate managers are not that in line with pricing being that close to it. Okay. With the RMC doing the pricing, if it's $5 a day more, do you think the corporate relocation manager even knows that? Or if it's $10 a day more, not that close to it. As long as there's an understanding of why we're having increases, our contract doesn't say, how much our temp living is going to be.
Right.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna ask Barb and Mark. First of all, can you hear Jack, or for the last 3 minutes has it just been?
No, clear.
Okay, clear. Barb, what do you think about what Jack's saying?
I completely agree with Jack. I mean, I do.
Yeah. Well, there you go, Jack. And I'm getting a lot of comments here that people are digging the call in, Jack. So thanks for doing it. Thanks for setting me straight. What do you think, Jack? Just from I just want to ask you one more question while I have you here. And thanks for doing this. This is really cool. Do you, if there are shortages that impact the ability to find corporate housing and potentially moving, do you see corporations changing their relocation policies, maybe allowing more alternative accommodations, maybe doing more lump sums, doing things that maybe in the past they would have never considered?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they would do things that were never considered, and that could be, more lump sums and let them do whatever they need to whether it's hotels or places like that. But again, it's not being communicated well, and what I mean by that is every individual corporate people are on panels talking about it, and there's probably not that many corporate even listening to these panels. What I was saying is that your organization, okay, should be writing somehow, whether it's through ERC or something, that we have documents that we can show to our management, okay, what's going on in the industry. Otherwise, what you said, Ben, is true. You always figure it out, and we're fine with that. You do. You find a way to figure it out, and we'll get through it.
Yeah. Jack, thank you so much for calling in. Okay. I appreciate you, man.
All right. Thank you for having me. And you guys, you're in a tough situation, but, do what's right for your businesses. It doesn't, to complain about it or whatever. If you need to do price increases, do the price increases, otherwise you won't survive in this. But thank you for having me. Take care.
Thank you, Jack. Take care, bud. Bye. Wow. Well, there you hear it right there. See, that was amazing. Jack, thank you so much again. You are the best. People are loving the comments here. What do you think when you hear that, Mark, Barb?
Well, Jack, thank you for the comments. They're refreshing. It's interesting because we do work with some companies directly, and we also work a lot with the RMCs on both furniture rental and destination services. I think the RMCs are really, they've been in an industry that hasn't had a tremendous amount of growth over the last several years, and they're really trying to protect their turf. And every time an RFP comes out, they shudder because they're going to be asked a lot of questions as to how they can deliver services for less. And my fear is that they do that and they immediately go, well, it must be the price of a good. And that's the direction they head. It's almost the knee-jerk reaction versus stepping back and going, well, is there a better way to bundle it, to look at it, to deliver it that may be unique and different from what we've done historically that could deliver savings, but still allow us to make money and be a healthy organization as well. So thank you for raising that question. I think that there are different things that can be done, not to exclude price increases when the marketplace would suggest that they're appropriate.
Barb, what are your thoughts on Jack's comments? These will be our final comments before we do our top 5.
Okay. I mean, the margins are so slim in what we do in corporate housing. I don't know how someone could not, with the rent, I mean, the rent increases, what do I have it down for? I mean, they're going up every single day because of supply and demand. So I can't imagine a corporate housing company eating those costs when the margins are so small. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. Sharon, not all corporate clients are as awesome as Vinny and Jack, just saying. Agreed. You know what? Let's play a little game. Okay, we run over, but I think it was well worth it. People were super engaged. These comments were incredible. Let's do a top 5. What do you say, huh?
Yep. Top 5.
Top 5. So you got a top 5 for me today. This is great.
Perfect.
Let's see here.
Challenges.
Stacey, what's the top 5? There it is. Hello.
Yep. Top 5 challenges in relocation. When Mark and I were talking, we were talking about, again, setting the expectations. And the one thing I did not say from a corporate housing perspective is that the 2-hour windows we have on the portal, it's taking much more than 2 hours now to try to find housing. So when those 2 hours aren't met and our relocation companies are not getting answers from us, I think it's across the industry. I mean, I think people are going to start paying attention here real quick.
Yeah. So shall we to go into number 5?
Number 4? Oh,
that was number 4. I didn't get my cue there. Sorry. There's a lot going on. Jack threw me off. That was number 5, is setting the 2 hours ain't gonna cut it expectation.
Yeah.
Number 4.
There's a real problem in housing, real estate, and apartments, and we've covered that, right? I mean, again, we're setting expectations. We want everyone to know that this in itself is a problem.
Number 3.
Mark was very clear that the shipping and the containers are a problem. So it's not just real estate. Now we have issues with household goods and getting furniture over from wherever we're buying it.
Well, and this affects every single thing that we touch that was manufactured outside this country, which fortunately or unfortunately is a lot of things. So, Mark, when do you see that resolving? The shipper, I mean, there's been a shipping container imbalance with China forever, since there's been shipping containers, it seems like.
There has been. I think we may see some resolution if the people in the U.S. go back to more of a discretionary spend on services versus products. But until the spend on products stops and until all of those backlogs are taken care of, it's probably not going to get resolved quickly. It's just such a hot mess at every location.
So interesting. I agree with you when you said it, but I would have never come to that conclusion myself. People need to start traveling and eating out more and go back to work, it sounds like, and start manufacturing stuff where we did. Really interesting. So I need to go out to, so Mark tells me I need to go out to eat more, everybody. All right. My wife would disagree with you, but okay. Number 2
is manufacturing, which again, we're talking about, right? Which number 1, if you want to go.
Number one.
Is really Asia in general and the supply chain. And we didn't even, Mark and I didn't, well, it's Mark because he's way smarter. Didn't even
Mark
go.
can speak for himself. Okay. I mean, you know,
Okay,
Mark,
go ahead, Mark. Go through
would you
all
like
the
to take this
shortages
one?
we talked about.
I think we've got supply chain issues from manufacturing, whether it be in Asia or elsewhere, but primarily in Asia, through issues that are related to COVID and people's health and their ability to get things done, all the way through the marketplace. And they're affecting housing as much as they're affecting furniture in different respects, to your point, Ben, about all of these products coming in from someplace. And so, as we said in the beginning, if it was just one thing, we can figure it out. We'll figure our way around it. But it's not. It's half a dozen things happening all at the same time. And there's no easy fixes. And we're spending more money. Barb is spending more money trying to get things done. Money is helping. Money isn't the only solution. It's going to take some time as well.
Yeah, great point. Great point. This has been amazing. The comments have been tremendous. Obviously, this is an enormous topic for so many people. We ran well over our time, and so many people are sticking with us here. Hit that like button if you haven't done so already. If you have done so, hit it again. I don't think there's a limit. I think it's free. Keep hitting that like button. Leave your comments in the comments if you want to let us know how we did today. I want to ask you to leave us with a final thought, Barb and Mark, as we close. What should we be thinking about, Barb?
Patience.
It doesn't have to be one word. It could be like, like a sentence or two
I think
words.
I'm going to go back to the relationship. And I think that we all have to have patience in this particular situation, that there is no enemy here, right? We aren't trying to kick your person out. Like, there is no enemy. We're just trying to work with the tools we've been given.
Yeah, patience and empathy, because you're right. Nobody's wrong. We're all in this together, and we're just trying to make the best of it. And I think that was kind of Jack's point too, right? It's like, hey, corporates aren't wrong here. We're not the bad guy, We're all just trying to do this together. And I think as long as we kind of collaborate and empathize and communicate with one another, like we're doing here, Barb, and to kudos to you. I think we'll be in a better shape. Mark, what should we be thinking about?
I guess two quick thoughts. Number one, we are going to have as many problems and challenges and issues this spring and this summer as we did last spring and summer. They're just better problems to be dealing with. Not fewer, better. Okay, so there are reasons to be hopeful. Number two, along those same lines, remember that we're probably at the forefront of the world in terms of coming out of this. There's a lot of people that are not here yet, and acknowledge it, have patience, have understanding. This is going to take some time to get through. So, just remember that as we're working with each other. We've got a long ways to go. Yeah,
you're right. We should remember how thankful we should be and how blessed we really are to have problems about not having enough sofas and enough apartments. I mean, yeah, you're absolutely correct. Great perspective, Mark. Thank you so much. And Barb, thanks for partnering to bring this to the forefront and bringing such great information. People really dug it. Hey, Lisa, Jackie, Sarah, Richard, Phil. Yeah, this is great, Jeff. From the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate y'all diving in here and spending so much time with us today. Barb, Mark, everyone who joined today, all the comments, all the questions, all the likes. I appreciate them so much. Without you, we wouldn't have a show. And because you stopped and actually got involved and actually called in, even live, Jack, it made it so much better. So let's keep that momentum going. Let's do it some more. Barb, Mark, thank you so much for being here today with us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.